How Islam protects women from exploitation. What if I told you that the safety and dignity of half of humanity is guaranteed by a system that many claim limits freedom? Yes, I said it, guaranteed, and not by chance, not by human laws, but by divine guidance. Think about it. In a world where exploitation hides in shadows, hidden behind smiles, behind power, behind promises, how often do we hear stories of women being manipulated, used or undervalued? Too often, too easily. But what if I told you there is a shield, a framework designed centuries ago to protect women from exactly that? Islam is not just a religion of rituals, it's a system, a structure, a code that safeguards dignity, honor, and agency. And today, I'm going to open that door for you. Let's start with the first door, the door of financial independence and security. Did you know that Islam gave women the right to own property, earn income, and control their wealth over 400 years ago, long before the concept of women's financial rights became common? No man could take her money without her permission. Imagine that in a time when even speaking up was dangerous for women, Islam said, "Your wealth belongs to you, your life is yours, respect it." And now, the second door, marriage and consent. How often do we hear about forced marriages today? About women having no voice in decisions that shape their lives. Islam made it clear a woman cannot be married off without her consent. Her approval isn't optional, it's mandatory. Imagine a world where one of life's biggest decisions is taken from you. Islam built a firewall against that. She is not property. She is not a tool. She is a partner with rights. And the third door, protection from harm. Islam doesn't just give rights on paper. It enforces them through social, moral, and legal responsibility. It prohibits physical abuse. It forbids emotional manipulation. It commands respect. It says, do not oppress. Do not exploit. Do not demean. Every act of exploitation has consequences. And that is a promise from the Creator, not just a social guideline. But let's talk about the fourth door, respect and privacy. In a world obsessed with exposure, Islam created boundaries. Modesty isn't just clothing, it's a shield. A woman's body, her honor, her dignity, they are her own. No one has the right to reduce her to an object for display. Imagine walking into a room with armor you never knew you had, an armor that makes people respect your boundaries instinctively. That is exactly what modesty does. The fifth door, voice and agency. Islam gave women the right to speak, to work, to participate in society, and to be heard. Women were scholars, business leaders, and decision makers from the very beginning of Islam. Khadija, the first believer, was a successful businesswoman. Aisha, a young woman, became one of the greatest teachers of knowledge in history. These weren't exceptions, they were the standard. Finally, the sixth door, justice and dignity. Islam's system ensures that exploitation is not only morally wrong, but legally punishable. False accusations, abuse, harassment, none of these are ignored. Rights are enforceable. Dignity is non-negotiable. Islam ensures financial independence and ownership rights for women, protecting them from economic exploitation. Consent in marriage is mandatory, safeguarding women's autonomy in life, changing decisions. Islam prohibits abuse, manipulation, and harm, providing legal and moral protection. Modesty and privacy serve as shields, preserving dignity and respect in a world that often objectifies women. Women are granted voice, agency, and societal participation, demonstrated by historical role models. Exploitation is punishable, ensuring justice and enforceable rights for women across all spheres of life. Imagine a young woman named Sarah growing up in a bustling city. She sees her friends dreaming about independence, building careers, earning their own money, and shaping their destinies. Yet, Sarah feels trapped. Her family, despite loving her, holds the belief that a woman's financial world belongs to her father, her husband, or her brothers. Every allowance, every penny she earns is monitored, restricted, or directed. She feels a subtle, almost invisible weight pressing down on her, the sense that her autonomy, her ability to make decisions about her life and her future, isn't hers. Now, imagine telling Sarah that centuries ago, in a world far less connected, far less fair, a system already existed that gave women exactly what she is yearning for: full ownership of their wealth, complete control over their earnings, and the freedom to make financial choices for themselves. That is the power of Islam. Over 400 years ago, long before modern feminism, laws, or economic debates about women's rights existed, Islam declared that a woman's wealth belongs entirely to her. It doesn't matter if it comes from inheritance, a business, or gifts. No man can take it without her permission. This is not a suggestion, not a guideline, but a divine decree. It's as if the Creator looked at society and saw the exploitation hiding behind inheritance disputes, arranged marriages, and social pressure, and said, I will protect her even when others do not. Picture Khadija, the first believer, a woman of remarkable intelligence and strength. She was not only the wife of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, but a successful entrepreneur in her own right. She ran a thriving trading business, employing people, negotiating deals, and accumulating wealth, all independently. In a society where women's work was often invisible, dismissed, or undervalued, Khadija's financial autonomy was revolutionary. Her wealth was her own, her decisions were hers alone. She chose to support the Prophet, not because she had to, but because she wanted to, because she believed in a cause greater than herself. Her story is not an isolated exception. It is a window into a system that recognized, empowered, and protected women's economic rights long before the world understood the concept. Think about the modern implications of this. Today, women everywhere struggle with financial vulnerability, whether it is being denied access to bank accounts, being pressured to hand over earnings, or for facing restrictions in professional life. These barriers create a subtle, persistent form of exploitation that limits freedom, fosters dependency, and often traps women in cycles of abuse. Islam's guidance, however, acts like a protective shield. From the moment a woman earns her first dirham, it belongs to her. She can save it, spend it, invest it, or donate it. No one can take it without her consent. It is hers, not a family possession, not a man's reward, not a social bargaining chip. Imagine the confidence that brings. Imagine the peace of mind that comes from knowing that your labor, your effort, your contribution is recognized, respected, and protected by divine decree. Consider the story of Fatima, a woman living in a small town, striving to make her mark. She works long hours in a modest shop, earning enough to support herself and her family. In many societies, her earnings might be appropriated or controlled by male relatives. But she knows her rights. She has read the Quran, listened to the teaching, and understands that her wealth is her sanctuary. She can choose to help her family, yes, but it is her choice, her gift, her decision. That knowledge transforms not just her bank account, but her sense of self. She walks through life with a quiet confidence, an unshakable sense of dignity, because she knows that she is protected. No one can exploit her through her finances. No one can manipulate her by controlling her resources. That is empowerment on a profound, intimate level, a protection that begins within and radiates outward. Even in matters of inheritance, Islam ensures fairness while protecting women from exploitation. A woman may receive her rightful share regardless of the opinions, pressures, or biases of society around her. This is a radical idea if you consider the context of 7th century Arabia, where women were often denied inheritance entirely. Imagine the shock of a society accustomed to marginalizing women when suddenly it is declared that daughters, wives, and mothers have an inalienable right to a portion of wealth. The system isn't just theoretical, it's enforceable. Disputes can be settled, claims verified, and rights protected. Every legal and moral mechanism works to prevent exploitation. Now, think about the ripple effect of this protection. When a woman controls her finances, her decisions influence education, health, and even community development. A mother who earns and controls her money can feed her children, invest in their education, and contribute to the well-being of her household. She is not just protected, she becomes a force multiplier for positive change. Economically empowered women elevate not just themselves, but entire families, entire communities. The protection Islam provides is therefore not just personal, it is generational. And consider this, the protection is practical and immediate. It doesn't require societal approval or waiting for legal reforms. It doesn't depend on someone else's benevolence. A woman's right to her wealth is immediate, undeniable, and enforceable. If someone tries to take what is hers, the system provides recourse. That security, that guarantee, is something many women today still struggle to find. Yet it was established over a millennium ago. Even in our times, the principle holds immense relevance. Women entrepreneurs, students, professionals, anyone earning or managing money, face pressures and challenges that can feel overwhelming. Society may impose subtle expectations. You should give it to your father, or your husband will manage it better. Islam says no. Your wealth, your effort, your labor, it is yours. That protection is like a fortress built centuries ago, still standing, still strong, still unassailable. And perhaps the most beautiful aspect of this protection is its integration with respect and dignity. A woman doesn't have to fight, argue, or negotiate to claim her rights in Islam. The right is hers by nature, by law, and by morality. It is recognized by the highest authority. Imagine living life knowing that your efforts, your labor, your achievements are respected not because someone chooses to respect them, but because the law of God ensures that they must be respected. That is not just financial security, that is liberation. That is shielded dignity. This principle transforms lives quietly, profoundly, and intimately. It transforms relationships by establishing boundaries that cannot be crossed. It transforms self-perception by instilling confidence that comes from knowing your worth is recognized. And it transforms society by creating women who are empowered, educated, and capable of making choices that ripple outward to impact generations. Every time a woman earns and keeps her wealth, she is standing on the shoulders of Khadija, Fatima, and countless others who are protected by this divine system. Every coin, every investment, every financial decision she makes is a testament to a protection that transcends time, culture, and circumstance. She is not alone. She is safeguarded by a system that anticipated human greed, manipulation, and exploitation long before these became global issues. And she carries forward a legacy of independence, strength, and resilience that no one can take from her. The lesson is clear: financial rights are not optional. They are protection. They are empowerment. They are freedom wrapped in dignity. And that is why, when we speak of Islam protecting women from exploitation, the first and foundational door is the right to own, earn, and control wealth. A door that opens quietly, securely, and powerfully to every woman who claims it. Imagine a young woman named Layla sitting quietly in her room, listening to the chatter of her family in the next room. She's 17, full of dreams, aspirations, and hopes about the life she wants to live. Yet there's a knot in her stomach. She has heard whispers of plans being made, discussions about marriage, decisions being taken about her life, while she remains unheard. How often do we see this story play out in real life? A woman's future being negotiated, debated, and decided without her input, as if her heart, mind, and voice didn't matter at all. Now, imagine stepping back over 400 years and seeing a system built to prevent exactly that. A system that said, in the clearest possible terms, that a woman's consent is non-negotiable. A woman cannot be married without her agreement. Her yes is required, and her no must be respected. In a time when women were often treated as property, this decree was revolutionary. It was as if the Creator looked at the human tendency to exploit, manipulate, and control, and said, I will protect her autonomy. I will safeguard her choice. I will ensure that no one can make life-altering decisions for her without her voice. Consider the story of Aisha, the daughter of Abu Bakr, a young woman of intelligence and depth. She was not just a passive participant in her life. She became one of the most knowledgeable scholars in early Islamic history. And yet, even in her own marriage, her consent was the cornerstone. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, made it clear that her agreement was essential. He did not act as a gatekeeper of her will, he honored it. This was not mere formality, it was a profound recognition of her rights and her dignity. Imagine how different the world would be if every marriage were approached with this level of respect. Picture a society where women's aspirations, their emotions, and their dreams are not ignored, dismissed, or overridden. Layla, in her modern city, could look around and see that the system she lives under was designed to give her exactly this protection. Islam's guidance is not abstract, it is practical, enforceable, and life-changing. Think about Fatima, a young professional in a bustling town. She meets a man she likes, and they discuss the possibility of marriage. In many places, the conversation about her marriage might be limited to parents, relatives, or societal expectations. But under the Islamic framework, her consent is the foundation. She can say yes because she wants to, not because she feels pressured. She can say no without fear of shame or repercussion, knowing that her choice is respected and protected. That freedom transforms her relationship with herself and with the world around her. She walks forward with confidence, knowing her life is hers to direct. The principle of consent also protects women from subtle forms of exploitation and manipulation. In societies where women have little say in marriage, power dynamics can be abused. Threats, coercion, or financial pressure can push a woman into decisions she doesn't want to make. Islam builds a firewall against that. The system is designed to ensure that her yes is informed, genuine, and free. Her autonomy cannot be bought, bargained, or coerced away. It is a shield that safeguards her dignity and her life path. Even in historical accounts, we see the care given to women's consent. There are stories of women being asked multiple times if they agreed to marriage arrangements. If a woman objected, the marriage could not proceed. This was not negotiable. Her voice mattered. It was recognized as an essential part of her humanity. Think of it, in an era when women were often invisible in legal, social, and familial matters, Islam elevated their voice to a level of authority that could not be ignored. Consider a modern scenario. Sarah, a university student, receives pressure from her extended family to marry someone she barely knows. She fears confrontation, disapproval, and rejection. Yet, armed with the knowledge that her consent is a right, not a privilege, she finds courage. She knows that saying no is not rebellion, it is protection. It is exercising a right guaranteed centuries ago. This is not just a theoretical idea. It is a practical tool that prevents exploitation, protects her emotional well-being, and ensures her life is built on her own terms. Marriage is one of the most significant decisions in a person's life. When that decision is taken away from a woman, it is not just a breach of rights, it is a form of exploitation that can ripple through every aspect of her existence. Islam understood this, and its protection is profound because it addresses the root of potential harm, the stripping away of choice. By enshrining consent as a non-negotiable requirement, it preserves a woman's agency, dignity, and self-respect. And the beauty of this protection is that it does not diminish respect, honor, or family values. On the contrary, it elevates the entire social fabric. A marriage built on mutual consent, respect, and understanding becomes a partnership, not a transaction. The woman is not an object to be acquired. She is a partner whose voice is as important as her husband's. Imagine the harmony, the trust, and the security that arises when both partners enter marriage freely and willingly. That is the safeguard Islam provides, protecting women from exploitation while building healthy, balanced relationships. Think of Layla, a young teacher navigating her career and her personal life. She has ambitions, hopes, and goals. She meets someone who shares her vision, and they discuss marriage. Her family supports her, yet they know her consent is the final word. The confidence she gains from knowing that her choice is protected impacts every decision she makes, every interaction she has, every boundary she sets. Her life is not dictated by societal pressure or familial bargaining. It is guided by her own voice, amplified by a divine system that respects and honors her autonomy. Even in difficult cases, where family expectations clash with personal desire, Islam provides clarity. The system is unequivocal. A woman cannot be forced, coerced, or manipulated. Her consent is her safeguard. Her right to say no is absolute. This transforms the power dynamics in ways that are still astonishing to societies today, where women often struggle to assert control over one of the most critical aspects of their lives. The protection of consent in marriage is not just about preventing exploitation. It is about nurturing emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being. When a woman enters marriage freely, she carries herself with confidence, knowing that her choice was hers and hers alone. Her voice was heard. Her agency was respected. Her life was not dictated by others. That is a form of protection that transcends legal rights. It is deeply personal, profoundly human, and life-changing. The lesson echoes through time. Safeguarding a woman's choice in marriage is one of the clearest ways Islam protects her from exploitation. By making consent mandatory, and by elevating her voice, and by enforcing her autonomy, the system creates a space where women are empowered to live fully, freely, and with dignity. It is a protection that transforms lives quietly, profoundly, and lastingly, shaping futures that are truly theirs, free from manipulation, coercion, and exploitation. Imagine a quiet evening in a small town. The streets are dimly lit, and a young woman named Amira walks home from her evening class. She feels the weight of the world on her shoulders, not because of what she has done, but because of what society sometimes does to women. She feels the uneasy awareness that danger can lurk in shadows, that words can wound, that hands can harm. She walks a little faster, glances over her shoulder, and tightens her grip on her bag. This is not paranoia, it is a reality many women live with every day. And yet, centuries ago, long before streetlights and security cameras, a system was established to protect women like Amira. Not just spiritually, not just morally, but practically, legally, and socially. Islam is not merely a set of spiritual guidelines. It is a framework designed to prevent exploitation in every form, and protection from harm is at its core. It recognized the vulnerabilities women face and built safeguards that span personal, social, and legal realms. From physical safety to emotional integrity, from public interactions to private life, the system leaves no gap where a woman can be exploited without consequence. Picture Fatima, a woman in 7th century Arabia. In a society where might often overpowered right, where disputes could escalate into violence, Islam declared that harming a woman, physically, emotionally, or socially, was forbidden. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said that women are to be treated with kindness and respect. Any action that causes harm is not only morally wrong, it is a violation of divine law. Imagine the strength it takes to legislate compassion and protection in a world accustomed to injustice and exploitation. Think about the modern implications. Women today are still vulnerable to abuse, harassment, and manipulation. Whether it's workplace harassment, domestic violence, or societal pressure, the risks are real. But Islam provides a shield. It commands that women must be treated with respect and dignity. Physical harm is prohibited, emotional manipulation is forbidden, and exploitation in any form is punishable. Every action that seeks to undermine a woman's safety is accounted for, leaving no excuse for those who would attempt to exploit her. Consider Layla, a young professional navigating a male-dominated workplace. She faces subtle pressures, comments that question her competence, gestures that invade her space, attempts to undermine her confidence. In many societies, women are often left to navigate these challenges alone, but the Islamic framework provides a moral compass and a legal foundation. It says clearly, harm is not allowed. Exploitation cannot be justified. Her dignity is protected, and she has recourse, whether through community support, moral accountability, or legal intervention. This knowledge transforms her experience. It does not erase challenges, but it equips her with the understanding that she has rights, that boundaries exist, and that the system values her safety. Even in matters that seem subtle, the protection is profound. Emotional harm, manipulation, coercion. These are forms of exploitation that often go unnoticed, but Islam addresses them. A husband cannot belittle his wife. A guardian cannot pressure a daughter unjustly. A community cannot shame or ostracize her unfairly. The system anticipates not only overt exploitation, but also the quiet, insidious forms that erode confidence, dignity, and autonomy. Imagine the impact this has on a woman's mental and emotional well-being. Knowing that harm is forbidden and that there is moral and legal accountability creates a space where she can thrive without fear, hesitation, or compromise of her values. Consider the story of Zainab, a woman navigating her early marriage. She faces challenges as all human relationships do, but she knows that abuse, whether verbal, physical, or emotional, is prohibited. She knows that Islam enforces protection, ensuring that her rights, dignity, and safety are respected. This awareness empowers her to assert boundaries, to speak up when wrong, and to live confidently within the relationship. She is not defenseless, nor is she forced into silence. The system shields her in ways that extend beyond societal norms, creating a framework where exploitation is impossible to justify. Protection in Islam is also systemic. It is not limited to personal relationships. Laws, ethics, and communal responsibilities reinforce each other. False accusations against women are punished, harassment is condemned, societal norms encourage respect and accountability. The system is comprehensive, ensuring that exploitation has consequences at every level. Imagine walking through life with that kind of safety net, a network of moral, social, and legal safeguards that reinforce your right to live free from harm. That is the strength of the protection Islam provides. Even for young girls, this protection is clear and vital. From the moment a girl is born, she is safeguarded against harm. She cannot be physically exploited, emotionally manipulated, or socially undermined without accountability. Her body, mind, and spirit are respected from the beginning, creating a foundation of dignity that shapes her entire life. Consider the confidence of a girl growing up knowing that she is valued, protected, and safe. That confidence radiates into her choices, her ambitions, and her relationships. She navigates the world with a sense of security that many only dream of. The protection Islam offers is proactive, not reactive. It does not wait for exploitation to occur, it sets boundaries to prevent it. It instructs communities, families, and individuals to uphold standards of care, respect, and justice. Imagine a society where every interaction, every relationship, every social norm is guided by the principle that harm is forbidden. Women are not forced to fend for themselves in isolation. They are supported by a moral and legal framework that reinforces their right to safety and dignity at every turn. Consider Amal, walking home late at night in a busy city. She feels unease that is all too familiar to women everywhere. But she carries knowledge that transforms fear into confidence. She knows that her dignity is protected, that exploitation is forbidden, and that the system supports her right to live safely. This awareness empowers her to navigate the world with courage, to assert boundaries when necessary, and to expect respect in every interaction. It is a shield that begins within and extends outward, shaping her experiences and protecting her from exploitation in ways that are subtle yet profound. The strength of this protection lies not only in rules or decrees, but in the integration of morality, ethics, and law. It recognizes human tendencies toward greed, power, and manipulation, and it builds safeguards to counteract them. It acknowledges vulnerabilities and addresses them proactively. It creates an environment where women can live, work, learn, and contribute without fear, knowing that exploitation is not tolerated. This is not just protection, it is empowerment, dignity, and liberation woven into a divine framework that transcends time and culture. And the beauty of it is that this protection is universal. It applies to women of every age, background, and circumstance. From young girls in schools to professionals in offices, from wives in homes to entrepreneurs in markets, Islam provides a system that ensures safety, respect, and dignity. It is a framework that recognizes potential threats and neutralizes them, offering women the opportunity to flourish without fear. It is a shield built centuries ago, still standing strong, still relevant, still necessary. Every woman who benefits from this protection, whether consciously or unconsciously, is part of a legacy that transcends generations. From Khadija and Aisha to modern women navigating complex societies, the principle remains the same: exploitation is forbidden, harm is prohibited, and dignity is non-negotiable. That knowledge transforms lives, creating a sense of security and confidence that radiates outward into families, communities, and societies. It is a protection that is as emotional as it is legal, as practical as it is spiritual, as intimate as it is societal. The lesson is clear: safeguarding women from harm is not optional or abstract. It is a divine mandate, a proactive system, and a practical framework that empowers, protects, and elevates. It ensures that every interaction, every relationship, and every decision honors the safety, dignity, and well-being of women, creating a world where exploitation cannot thrive, where boundaries are respected, and where women can live free, confident, and empowered. Imagine a bustling market in the heart of a city, full of color, noise, and life. Women weave through the crowds, some laughing, some hurrying, some deep in thought. Among them is Sarah, a young woman moving confidently through the throng. She wears what she chooses, walks where she pleases, and interacts freely. Yet she knows that in many corners of the world, women cannot move like this without judgment, objectification, or risk. In some societies, a woman's appearance, her body, her dress, all are treated as public property. She is constantly assessed, evaluated, and sometimes exploited simply because she exists in public space. Now imagine a system created centuries ago in a world far removed from ours that understood these vulnerabilities and built a protective framework that honors a woman's privacy and dignity, safeguarding her from objectification and harm. That is what Islam offers. From the very beginning, Islam recognized that a woman's body, her image, her presence are her own. They are not tools for display, nor objects for judgment. The guidance on modesty, often misunderstood, is in essence a shield. It is a protective cloak, not a restrictive shackle. It allows a woman to navigate life with confidence, without fear that her value will be reduced to her appearance. Consider Fatima, a woman walking through Medina centuries ago, fully aware that her dignity was protected by the principles she lived by. She could move, speak, and participate in society freely, confident that her privacy and boundaries were respected. This was revolutionary at a time when women were often treated as commodities, their value measured only by societal perceptions. In the modern world, the significance of this protection is even clearer. Women face constant pressures to conform to beauty standards, to be visually available, and to perform roles that are often exploitative. From media images to workplace expectations, from social gatherings to online interactions, women are evaluated, objectified, and sometimes harassed. Islam's guidance on modesty acts like a shield in this environment. It gives women control over how they present themselves and who has access to them. It draws boundaries that the world might ignore, but that are honored by divine law and moral accountability. Imagine walking through life knowing that your dignity is protected, that your presence commands respect, simply because the system recognizes your worth. Consider Leela, a young professional navigating both her career and social expectations. She chooses her attire thoughtfully, not to hide herself, but to assert her agency. Her clothing, her behavior, her interactions all become expressions of her autonomy. She is not conforming to arbitrary restrictions. She is exercising a right established centuries ago to protect her dignity and privacy. This choice gives her freedom. It gives her confidence. It allows her to focus on her ambitions, her learning, her relationships, without the constant fear of being objectified or exploited. The protection is subtle yet profound. It empowers her to assert her presence in the world on her own terms. Even in historical accounts, we see women exercising this protection with courage and clarity. Aisha, the young scholar and teacher, navigated public life, debate, and scholarship with modesty and dignity. She participated in society fully, yet her boundaries were respected. Her knowledge, her voice, and her intellect were valued, not her appearance. She walked through life armored not in restriction, but in protection. Her modesty was not an obstacle. It was a shield that allowed her to engage with the world confidently and safely. The principles of privacy and modesty also extend to interactions. Islam instructs that women are not to be harassed, approached inappropriately, or coerced. Their personal space, choices, and bodies are protected by divine law. This is not merely about clothing or appearance. It is about creating a social environment where women can exist freely, safely, and respectfully. Consider Sarah, walking through her city streets, encountering strangers, colleagues, and acquaintances. She knows that she has rights to her space, her boundaries, and her interactions. She can assert herself without fear because a system exists that respects her autonomy and condemns exploitation. Even small, everyday scenarios illustrate the significance of this protection. A woman walking alone at night, a student presenting in class, a professional navigating meetings. Every moment is charged with potential vulnerability. Yet the principles of privacy and modesty provide a framework that reduces risk and enhances confidence. It instructs society to respect her, enforces moral accountability, and empowers her to assert boundaries. This is protection that begins internally, grows outwardly, and radiates into every interaction she engages in. Consider Zara, a young entrepreneur managing a growing business. She interacts with clients, employees, and partners daily. In many professional environments, women face subtle pressures, expectations to smile, dress in certain ways, or endure comments and behavior that compromise dignity. Yet, with the understanding that her privacy and boundaries are protected, Zakra navigates these challenges with confidence. She sets standards, asserts limits, and commands respect. The protection is not theoretical, it is lived, practical, and empowering. The beauty of this protection lies in its universality. It does not require permission from society to be effective. It does not depend on the goodwill of others to function. From young girls to elderly women, from scholars to workers, every woman benefits from a system that anticipates exploitation and builds safeguards. The principle is simple: her body, her privacy, her dignity belong to her. No one has the right to reduce her value or exploit her presence. Imagine the peace of mind that comes from living within such a framework, a freedom and confidence that allows her to flourish without fear. Even in emotional and social interactions, this protection is profound. Women are shielded from manipulation that exploits intimacy, trust, or vulnerability. They are safeguarded against behaviors that undermine confidence or exploit dependency. It is a holistic protection, addressing physical, emotional, and social vulnerabilities simultaneously. Imagine navigating friendships, relationships, and professional networks, knowing that the system not only permits boundaries, but enforces them morally, socially, and spiritually. The protection of privacy and modesty also empowers women to define themselves on their own terms. It allows them to cultivate skills, pursue education, and contribute meaningfully to society without being reduced to their appearance or social perception. A woman's identity is hers to craft, hers to present, and hers to protect. This autonomy is a profound safeguard against exploitation, creating a foundation for self-respect, confidence, and agency. Even stories from today echo the wisdom of this centuries-old guidance. Women who adopt these principles often report a sense of liberation, not restriction. They feel safer, more confident, and more in control of their lives. They can walk through crowded streets, enter offices, and participate in society fully, knowing that their dignity is recognized and protected. The principle acts as an invisible armor, shielding them from unwanted attention, manipulation, and objectification while allowing them to thrive. Every young girl, woman, and elder who understands and lives by these principles carries a legacy that transcends time. From the streets of Medina to modern cities around the world, the protection of privacy and dignity remains as relevant and vital as ever. It transforms lives by granting agency, instilling confidence, and creating an environment where exploitation cannot easily take root. It is a shield that begins within the self and extends outward, influencing families, communities, and societies. The lesson is clear: privacy and modesty are not restrictions, they are protections. They are tools to preserve dignity, assert agency, and safeguard against exploitation. They empower women to live fully, confidently, and freely, knowing that their presence, their choices, and their bodies are respected. This protection is both intimate and societal, personal and universal, practical and spiritual, creating a world where women can navigate life with strength, confidence, and safety. Imagine a classroom filled with eager students, the sun streaming through tall windows. Among them sits Amina, a young woman with sharp eyes and a mind buzzing with curiosity. She raises her hand with a question that challenges the lesson, and the teacher pauses, nodding thoughtfully. In that moment, Amina experiences a rare sensation, a sense of being heard, valued, and respected. Yet, in countless parts of the world, this is not always the case for women. Their ideas, voices, and insights are often dismissed or ignored simply because of their gender. But Islam, centuries ago, established a principle that transformed this reality. Women have voice, agency, and the right to participate fully in society. Their thoughts matter. Their contributions are valued. Their presence is essential. Think back to the early days of Islam, when Aisha, the daughter of Abu Bakr, became a leading scholar, teacher, and source of guidance. She was not sidelined because she was a woman. She was sought out for her wisdom and insight. People would come from near and far to learn from her. She debated, taught, and even advised on matters of community and law. Her voice carried weight. Her intellect was recognized. Imagine the courage and confidence required to step into a public sphere in a world that often doubted women. Yet she did so because a system was in place that honored her voice. Her agency was not optional, it was her right. Fast forward to a modern city, where Laila, a young engineer, sits in a meeting filled with colleagues, many of them men. She notices that suggestions she made earlier were overlooked, while the same ideas voiced by male colleagues received attention. Frustration rises within her, but she recalls the principles she has learned about her rights. Her contributions matter. Her voice is valid. Drawing inspiration from the legacy of Aisha, she speaks again, articulating her ideas clearly and confidently. This time, the room listens. The concept of agency is not just historical, it is alive in the courage to assert oneself and be heard. Islam protects this voice through multiple dimensions. It is not limited to formal education or professional engagement. Women are encouraged to participate in decision-making within their homes, communities, and broader society. Their opinions are sought in matters of family, governance, and social welfare. This principle safeguards them from exploitation by ensuring that they cannot be dismissed, silenced, or overridden without cause. When a woman's voice is respected, she is empowered to make choices, protect her interests, and contribute meaningfully to the world around her. Consider Fatima, a community leader in a small town. She organizes local initiatives, mediates disputes, and participates in councils. In many places, her presence might be minimized, her ideas disregarded, her authority questioned. Yet, Islam provides a framework where her agency is recognized and her input carries weight. The system itself validates her role, giving her confidence to act, speak, and influence without fear of marginalization. She knows that her intellect, experience, and judgment are valued because a higher principle affirms it. Even in intimate settings, voice and agency matter profoundly. Amina, a young mother navigating family life, must make countless decisions daily, choices about education, health, and the well-being of her children. In societies where women are denied agency, these decisions might be dictated by others, undermining her confidence and autonomy. But within the Islamic framework, Her role is respected and her judgment matters. She is not a passive participant. She is an active decision maker whose voice shapes her household and guides the future. This empowerment is a form of protection, shielding her from exploitation by ensuring her choices are recognized and respected. Historical examples reinforce this principle. Women like Salama and Hafsa were advisors, not just passive witnesses. Their opinions influenced key decisions during critical moments in early Islamic history. Their agency was not symbolic, it was functional, practical, and essential. They were sought out for counsel, involved in governance, and respected as authorities in their own right. Imagine the confidence instilled in generations of women who saw these figures not as exceptions but as role models. A clear message that their voice is sacred, their judgment valuable, and their agency indispensable. Consider a modern scenario. Sarah, a student activist, campaigns for educational reforms in her city. She faces opposition, skepticism, and subtle attempts to silence her. Yet she draws strength from the principle that her voice matters and her participation is valid. She organizes meetings, speaks at forums, and engages decision makers. Her efforts bear fruit because the foundation of agency empowers her to act without fear, knowing her contributions are legitimate and necessary. The principle safeguards her from exploitation by validating her presence in spaces where women are often marginalized. Voice and agency also protect women in relationships, partnerships, and social contracts. A woman who can express her needs, desires, and boundaries cannot be easily manipulated or exploited. Layla, a young professional navigating marriage, uses her agency to communicate clearly with her partner, negotiate expectations, and maintain independence. The right to voice her perspective, supported by a moral and spiritual framework, shields her from coercion and ensures that her autonomy is preserved. Agency becomes not only a right but a protective force, ensuring respect and fairness in all interactions. Even in professional spheres, the principle is transformative. Women leading organizations, making decisions, and influencing policies carry forward the legacy of empowerment established centuries ago. Their agency disrupts patterns of exploitation and marginalization, creating environments where fairness, collaboration, and respect thrive. Imagine a workplace where every voice matters, every contribution is valued, and no woman is silenced. The principle of agency is not just ethical, it is practical, shaping societies where women can flourish without fear. The protection of voice also intersects with education. Knowledge is power, and Islam encouraged women to seek knowledge from the beginning. A woman who learns, questions, and teaches is exercising her agency in the most profound way. She cannot be easily exploited because she understands her rights, her potential, and her value. Consider Aisha's extensive scholarship, where she narrated thousands of hadiths, taught countless students, and influenced legal interpretations. Her education empowered her voice and ensured her agency, creating a protective shield that allowed her to navigate society confidently and assertively. Even today, the impact resonates. Women who engage in civic life, run businesses, lead communities, or pursue academic research embody this principle. Their voices shape policies, influence culture, and protect not only themselves but those around them. By exercising agency, they create ripples that prevent exploitation, foster respect, and empower future generations. This protection is dynamic. It grows with experience, education, and participation, continually reinforcing the dignity, rights, and empowerment of women. Voice and agency are therefore not abstract concepts or optional ideals. They are practical tools for protection, empowerment, and influence. A woman who knows her voice matters is a woman who cannot be easily exploited. She negotiates, she asserts, she contributes, and she protects herself and others. From households to workplaces, from classrooms to councils, agency ensures that women are recognized as autonomous, capable, and essential participants in every aspect of life. Every time a woman speaks, teaches, negotiates, or participates, she is exercising a right established centuries ago. Every decision she makes, every boundary she asserts, every contribution she offers is a testament to a protection that empowers her, safeguards her dignity, and ensures her voice cannot be ignored. Agency is both shield and sword, protecting her from exploitation while enabling her to carve her own path in the world. The lesson is clear: safeguarding women's voice and agency is a core element of protection. By ensuring that their thoughts, choices, and contributions are recognized, Islam provides a framework where women are empowered to act freely, speak confidently, and influence society meaningfully. Their voice becomes their protection, their agency their shield, creating a world where women are not passive observers, but active, respected, and influential participants in shaping their own lives and the communities around them. Imagine a crowded courtroom, the air thick with tension and the quiet hum of anticipation. A young woman named Noor stands at the center, her hands trembling slightly, her heart pounding. She has been wronged, her rights violated, her dignity challenged, her voice initially ignored. Around her are the murmurs of society, some sympathetic, some dismissive, and yet she feels the weight of history, the gravity of principles that were established long before her birth. She knows that within the framework of Islam, justice is not abstract, it is enforceable. It is concrete. It is a shield designed to protect her dignity, and her rights from exploitation in every form. Centuries ago, Islam made it clear that every woman's dignity is sacred. The system doesn't merely encourage respect or moral behavior, it provides enforceable mechanisms to ensure protection. Physical harm, abuse, harassment, false accusations, none of these can go unchecked. The Quran and the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, repeatedly emphasize accountability and justice. The wronged are to be supported, the oppressors held responsible, and the community tasked with upholding these standards. Imagine living in a world where this principle existed at a time when women were often dismissed, disregarded, and abused with impunity. Consider the story of Fatima bint Muhammad, the daughter of the Prophet. Even within her household, her rights and dignity were non-negotiable. When disputes arose, they were resolved with fairness and respect for her perspective. Her status as a human being with rights was never questioned, and her voice mattered. This was a radical approach in a society where women were frequently denied recourse or justice. She was protected by a system that valued not just her existence, but the respect, fairness, and accountability she was due. Now, take a modern example: Ayesha, a young professional working in a corporate environment. She experiences harassment from a superior, subtle comments at first, escalating into overt attempts to manipulate her position and influence. In many workplaces, women are left to navigate these challenges alone, often feeling powerless against authority and systemic bias. Yet Ayesha is aware of her rights, informed by the principles of justice that Islam provides. She documents the incidents, seeks recourse through ethical and legal channels, and demands accountability. Her actions are reinforced by a framework that legitimizes her pursuit of justice. She is not alone. The system is on her side, ensuring that her dignity is recognized and her oppressor is held accountable. Justice in Islam is holistic. It encompasses social, legal, and moral dimensions. Women are not only protected from direct harm, they are safeguarded against exploitation that might occur through deceit, manipulation, or coercion. Consider the principle of qisas, equal retribution for harm done. It sends a clear message: exploitation and abuse have consequences. A woman cannot be victimized without recourse. A wrong committed against her is not trivialized or ignored. Every mechanism, every rule, every instruction works to prevent exploitation and uphold dignity. Imagine the empowerment a woman feels knowing that the law, divine and enforceable, validates her grievances and protects her from injustice. Even in cases of false accusation, Islam provides protection. A woman who is wrongfully accused is defended, and the accuser bears the burden of proof. The principle is simple yet profound: her reputation, her honor, and her dignity cannot be taken lightly. Consider Sarah, a university student wrongfully accused of misconduct by a peer. In many environments, her life could be appended before truth is established. But within an Islamic framework, the responsibility to prove accusations rests with the accuser, safeguarding her from exploitation through lies, gossip, or manipulation. This system ensures that dignity is not just a concept, it is enforceable, protected, and respected. Even mundane scenarios illustrate the significance of these protections. A woman negotiating a contract, managing property, or engaging in business transactions has clear rights that must be respected. If someone attempts to exploit her in these dealings, the framework provides remedies and accountability. Imagine the confidence this imparts, a sense of security that allows her to participate fully in society, contribute economically, and make decisions without fear that her rights will be ignored or violated. Protection and justice intersect, creating an environment where women can live freely and securely. Historical examples further reinforce this principle. Women such as Salama and Hafsa were not merely passive figures, they participated in governance, offered counsel, and had their rights respected within legal and social contexts. Their ability to influence, contribute, and be heard was protected by enforceable rules. Their dignity could not be compromised without consequence. This principle created a ripple effect, demonstrating that women's rights are not negotiable but fundamental, and that justice is not optional but mandatory. Consider Leela, a young entrepreneur navigating a male-dominated market. She encounters business partners attempting to undermine her, exploit her knowledge, or steal her ideas. In a society informed by Islamic principles, she has the right to pursue redress, to assert her claims, and to protect her intellectual and financial property. The enforcement of justice is her shield, ensuring that exploitation cannot prevail simply because of gender bias or social assumptions. It is both empowering and protective, transforming the playing field into one where fairness prevails. Justice and dignity are intertwined. A woman cannot be truly safe without both. Islam enforces not only protection from harm but recognition of inherent worth. Consider Hina, navigating her early career in a corporate office. She faces subtle attempts to marginalize her contributions and belittle her achievements. Knowing her rights, she asserts herself, supported by principles that guarantee accountability. The system reinforces her voice, defends her dignity, and ensures that any exploitation is addressed. She is not left to endure injustice silently. Protection is tangible and actionable. Even in family matters, enforceable rights are vital. A woman navigating divorce, inheritance, or child custody has specific, protected rights. She cannot be deprived of her share, coerced into decisions against her will, or silenced in matters that affect her life. These protections are not symbolic, they are concrete, practical, and enforceable. Imagine the security and empowerment a woman feels, knowing that her dignity is legally and morally safeguarded, and that any violation carries consequences for the perpetrator. The principle extends to society as a whole. Communities are instructed to uphold justice, to prevent exploitation, and to protect women from harm. No woman should face abuse without recourse, no dignity should be diminished without accountability, and no rights should be ignored without consequence. This creates a societal network of protection that is both proactive and reactive, anticipating potential exploitation and responding decisively when violations occur. Even in small, everyday scenarios, the enforcement of rights transforms experiences. A woman negotiating a lease, confronting workplace harassment, or asserting property ownership benefits from the clarity, authority, and protection that justice provides. She knows that boundaries are recognized, violations are punishable, and her dignity cannot be disregarded. This knowledge is empowering, instilling confidence and agency while safeguarding against manipulation and exploitation. Every woman who benefits from these principles participates in a legacy that spans centuries. From Khadija and Aisha to modern women navigating complex societies, justice and dignity remain core protections. They create environments where women can walk freely, speak confidently, engage fully, and pursue their ambitions without fear. Enforcement is not abstract, it is real, practical, and transformative. Every act of protection, every rule of justice, and every safeguard is a shield that prevents exploitation and honors the intrinsic value of women. The lesson is profound: justice and dignity are inseparable. Islam provides a system where both are enforceable, ensuring that women are protected, respected, and empowered. The framework safeguards against exploitation, shields against harm, and creates a society where women can live freely, confidently, and with full recognition of their inherent worth. The protection is comprehensive, spanning physical, social, legal, and moral dimensions, creating a foundation where every woman can thrive with security, autonomy, and empowerment. Imagine, just for a moment, a world where every woman walks with her head held high, where every girl's voice is heard, where every mother, sister, and daughter is free from fear, exploitation, and silence. Imagine it. Can you see it? Can you feel the weight of that possibility? This is not a dream. This is not a distant hope. This is the reality that Islam gives us, the reality that has always been there, waiting for us to recognize it, to embrace it, to act on it. Every law protecting her wealth, every principle ensuring her consent, every safeguard guarding her dignity, every shield defending her privacy, every right amplifying her voice, every enforceable protection of justice. These are not just words, they are a call to action. They are a framework that has been here for centuries, ready to transform lives, ready to protect, ready to empower. Look around you. Look at the women in your life. Think of the girls in your schools, your neighborhoods, your families. Think of their dreams, their potential, their power. Are we letting fear, ignorance, or silence stand in the way? Or are we stepping forward, speaking up, teaching, empowering, and honoring the rights that have been divinely protected? Do not wait. Do not hesitate. Do not allow another moment of injustice to pass unchallenged. Protect, empower, respect, elevate, teach, speak, act, repeat. Because every action matters, every choice matters, every voice matters. The world needs this protection. The world needs these principles. The world needs the courage to honor women, not because society allows it, not because it is convenient, but because it is sacred. It is just, and it is powerful. The moment to act is now. The opportunity is yours. The responsibility is yours. The legacy you leave will be remembered. And here is the truth that must echo in your hearts long after today. A society that protects its women, respects their rights, honors their dignity, and amplifies their voices. This is not only a society of justice. This is a society of strength. This is a society of hope. This is a society that cannot fail. So rise, protect, empower, speak, act, repeat. And remember this forever: when women are safeguarded, when their rights are honored, when their dignity is respected, the entire world rises with them.